Welcome back to the Business Simple podcast, episode number 2. I'm very, very excited about this one. I have my extremely good friend, extremely capable builder, Matt Perks, who we've known each other for some time now, and I've been lucky enough to see him grow from. I didn't get to see him first come to New Zealand, but we'll talk about that. But grow from flipping houses to developing to now being the largest builder in Whanganui, which has been really cool to see over the last few years. We've actually lived together for about a year as well, which was pretty fun. But yeah, welcome.
Mate, thank you very much.
Hey, so overall, kind of the purpose of this podcast is basically I want to communicate your story to people because I think it's a really cool one. I also just I'm really lucky in my networks because I have a lot of people around me who do stuff that we all define as being quite normal, that I think a lot of other people don't think is very normal. And so getting across the fact that you're a human being like I think I know you are, and that sort of thing I think is really cool too. So why don't you start just by, if you're comfortable, telling us the story of Adelaide to Wonga Vegas, how that all happened, what that process was like for you and your experiences and that sort of thing there.
Yeah, well, mate, interesting one. So we, from Adelaide, how old was I when I moved here? 6 years ago, I'm 26 now, 20. Working for my old man in hospitality, and then read the classic book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as we've all read and fell in love with. Saw a little pop-up ad on the side going like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 2-hour free seminar. Boom, sign me up. Went along to that. That had a 2-hour seminar with some big, beautiful, pretty numbers. And then at the end, there's a little kicker of like $1,200. And you learn about 3 days. You do a 3-day course about property. And I was like, I'm paying for it. I actually went to that with my mum. And my mum writes on a piece of paper like, this is a scam, not for me. And I think that kind of like, I was like, I'm going to do this now. So boom, paid that. And then went along and did this 3-day course, and you could bring a buddy. So I invited a friend of mine who I knew had some money to come along to learn about property. And like your 3 days full of information, but also like it's a sales pitch. But anyway, at the end of day 2, we're like, nah, we'll figure this out ourselves. And then day 3 rolls around and we kind of look at each other and we're like, should we just pay the money? It was 40 grand, so it was quite a lot. I had 22 grand in the bank account at the time, so I was like, let's put all my net worth and all my capital towards this course and see what happens. And we flew over to New Zealand, did a property course. You do 3 days in a classroom learning about property. And basically they were like, you're broke, so all you can do is afford is Tokoroa or Whanganui. Drive through, we cruise on down, drive through Tokoroa. Sorry to people who live in Tokoroa, it's pretty shithole, let's be honest. I was like, there's nothing here, cool, go to Whanganui, boom, roll in, and we were just like, oh, this place is cheap, property's 200 grand, it's got 50,000 people, let's buy a house and go from there. So we bought this house and we renovated it. When I say renovated it, like paint on the walls, we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. And then we rented it out. 6 months later, I was like, I want to buy it and move to New Zealand. Had a bit of negotiation on buying it, and I bought it. And then my wife now, but then at the time was my girlfriend of 3 months. I was like, I've got an idea. Let's move to New Zealand, renovate a property, sell it, and see what happens. So we jump on a plane, pack our whole life into a suitcase. And when I say a suitcase, it's full, like our whole life. We've sold everything, moved to New Zealand, suitcase packed, 30 grand in the bank, 2 credit cards with no debt on them that allowed me to do like another 30 grand, maybe not quite that much, and no plan. Land in New Zealand, get to Whanganui, first thing's like, right, we need a bed. So like, boom, go buy a bed. Next thing was we need a SIM card, go buy a SIM card. And this was in the taxi, like we're like in the taxi trying to get there, trying to figure out like, cool. And then the bed company's like, we're 3-day delivery. I'm like, mate, we need it now. Like, you don't understand. So boom, we get a bed, get it sorted. Then we jump into this reno. When I say we had no idea, like, no idea. Well, I just remember YouTubing everything, every little thing about property and like how to do this. And then we went on, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a bit further shortly, but we sold it and made a little bit of money, and that's how we ended up in Wonga, Vegas.
Yeah, sure. And so what are you, first off, I'm really interested in, so you bought this house. It was 200 grand, is that right? Or
180, I think, 185 or something.
What is the state of a $180,000 house 6 years ago in Whanganui?
Primo. Like, the state of it was... Funny thing is, it was actually not bad. I bought way worse. Like 185 grand. This was right before the market. Well, apparently the market had like doubled there already. Apparently property used to be 90 grand. I didn't know that. So like the piles were good. The roof was didn't leak. So it meant feel the weatherboards were a bit shit. Yeah. But it wasn't too bad. Like it was, we actually could make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the state of a house.
And you lived in it while you renovated it?
I lived in it while we renovated it. And
nice.
Like anyone that's done that will know the pain, but like also not having anything as well was just like hard. There was like no internet even, no like, it's just brutal.
Plus also probably no buddies.
No, we knew no one. Like absolutely no one.
Yeah.
Oh, I lied. When we first bought the house, I met one contractor and I knew him and he was like the one who gave me a hand and you and I now become good friends. But
nice.
Yeah, I knew one person in New Zealand.
Yeah, right. And so what are you thinking when you're, like obviously I know you and so it would be really easy to glance over this, but when you're approaching something like I'm going to just leave the city that I've grown up in and been in for the last 20 years and I have 30 grand, which to be fair for a starting budget, I mean, I know it's not high in property, but I know when I started Digital Simple, I had a shitload less than 30 grand. It's probably like negative 15 or something. But what are you thinking just packing, like selling everything, packing everything up and just going at that point?
I don't know. Like I left school at 15, went and worked for my old man in hospitality and I was kind of got really accustomed really quick to like you just kind of make shit happen. Yeah. Like you just, hey, look, if it doesn't work, I can just go back home and go live with mum and dad and get a job.
Yeah.
So you kind of just sometimes it's fun. I look back at those days now and like nothing to lose. Like you have no staff, you've got no one knows you. You're just gonna have a crack and I think it's fun.
I was and I've done a few of these episodes today and. That's come up a few times, the fondness of like you look back on challenging times with like rose tinted glasses, right? Like you're like, that was mint. Whereas reality in the time you're like sleeping in a room full of dust because you've been cutting a wall out and it's a real shit and you got no shower and shit. Like it's awful. But you look back on it, you're like, that was pretty nice. Yeah. That was,
There's times you're like, I wish I was back there. Like, can we just restart?
Yeah, I get that for sure. I especially like, the early days Digital Simple and like some of the jobs I had before, I think about that sort of thing all the time and crack up. I'm like...
The stuff you did to make it work was always like, I miss that. Like that, how am I going to get through this? Like sometimes now we've got access to so much more resource, like just the sheer grunt of like, I'm going to swipe my credit card and I don't know how I'm paying it, but like I'm swiping it because I have to swipe it. Like, and
I have this like story that I think about probably like once, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, which is back when I was still a one-man band. I had an office at this point in time, but no staff. So I had some overheads, but they weren't crazy. And I had exhausted all resources.
Yeah.
So like I think I had an overdraft. It might have been like $5,000 or something tapped.
Yeah.
I had a few late invoices that hadn't been paid, but I knew they weren't going to be paid. So that money's kind of just not there.
Yeah.
And it's Friday morning, the Thursday, the night before, I'd been stressing because I paid rent on Mondays. And I just didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. And I remember getting this call this Friday and it was, I'd exhausted all ideas as to how I can get rent money. It might have been $165 or anything, but like that's not there. That's not there at all. There's nowhere. It doesn't just appear. That's the funny thing with money. And so I get this call from this deal that I'd spoken to. It might have been like 3 months earlier, and he's like, "Oh, mate, we're ready to go." And so I remember being on the phone to him and being like, "Well, this sucks, but like, at least there's some upside to today because I'm completely fucking broke and I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do about Monday. But at least I've just signed a new client, right?" And we're talking, and he just goes, "So what's next steps? Like, do we pay a deposit? Do we do?" And my brain's just like big.
Absolutely.
And I was like, yeah, man.
$165, please.
Nothing nominal. I think it was $300. I think I was like, we just take a deposit. It might have been like 10% of the first month because it was three or something like that. And I'm like, $300. And he's like, yeah, sweet, man. No worries. If you just flick me through an invoice, I'll pay it today. And I just remember being like, holy shit. Like that's, I think I've now solved this thing. And then there's obviously the awkward, like, is the money going to clear in the account? And you obviously can't chase and be like, hey, you're going to pay that. So I'm like, I'm now essentially at his mercy. But I sent him through the invoice and he paid that day. And I suppose if you're just active enough, sometimes you get lucky.
I want to circle back to there. Like, I remember, so while we were renovating, we decided to start a painting company because I was like, I don't know, I can paint. And we did a job for someone. Same thing, it was rent. It was mortgage on that property that I bought. And we're like, I sent the invoice and they didn't pay. And it was late and I felt like almost guilty ringing them up being like, oh, hey, you're late. But looking back at it now, like if you're young in business, you'd be like, hey, I need that money. Like you just tell people. Like now, because we'd be like you guys, we pay all your bills on time.
Yeah.
We're even early. We are always early or on time. So I have no problem ringing someone if they're late, being like, you need to pay your invoice because I don't do it to other people.
Yeah.
So, but I think people, when they're young, they're scared to ask. And it's like, you need the capital. You need the money. You got to survive. You got bills. And if you get a reputation at the start for not paying your bills, hard to get your way back.
Yeah. That is the big negative of not getting paid on time, is often the person who suffers is actually the person you're supposed to pay. And you're someone who pays bills on time and they're someone who pays bills on time. But because this person earlier down the chain hasn't, it now has a flow-on effect where I'm like you, and I'm not saying we've paid every invoice the entire time this business has existed on time, but as a minimum, we communicate, which is the other thing. And that's all we really expect from clients is like shit happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I had this conversation with someone today. He's like, I'm really sorry, something defaulted somewhere and this is what's caused this. And I'm like, mate, it's all good. Just keep talking to us. You know, like we're lucky enough now that we're not going to go broke over one invoice. I think there might even be two or so, but I'm just like, mate, it's all good. Like keep talking to us, keep us updated. And I know we're a priority for you. And as long as we feel like that and you'll pay us as soon as you can, we trust you. But early days, you're right. You don't have that, you know, like that. I mean, I remember once being owed like 30 grand by someone and I was like, this is it.
Too scared to even pick up the phone and like ring
and like, this is it. Like, if I don't get this money, I don't know a path through.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? Where do I go? And like, I've paid money out to contractors and I've spent money on ads and I've done all these things. I'm in maybe 20. It's like, if I don't get this cleared, I can't see a path that's not being able to
like, because then you've got to go make 60 to make up 30, well 40 to then make up your 30. It gets, but you are right. The communication part people miss. Like, this is life, right? Things happen. We get that. We get that better than anyone. Just tell the person, or like it's when you go, people go quiet because they're too scared to admit.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, yeah. So don't do that. If you're young in business, don't pay your bills or let people know. Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. So we flip a house. Mm-hmm. We make some money.
Some money.
Yeah.
What did I wish I had looked at the stats of what I made. I remember being like, cool, we paid 185, we spent 35 on it.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, if this sells for anything with a 2 on it, I'm like partying.
Yeah.
And we sold it for 325 or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so
cool.
like way more than we thought. And then next minute I have 100 grand in the bank.
Yeah.
Now there's obviously GST and taxes, but at this point I don't really know what any of that means. I'm just like, here's 100 grand. I'm the man.
Yeah.
But then we just went super aggressive on flipping.
Yeah.
Like reinvested all the money again, because the problem was with the property market, everyone's like, oh, amazing, you're in a booming property market. Let me tell you, if you're flipping houses, it is, and you're getting started, it is so hard because we bought that one for 185, sold it for money, but the next one we have to buy is 250. Mm-hmm. Then the next one you got to buy is 300. So your profit just gets put back in. Where if the market's going the other way and you're actually just doing them fast enough, you actually can make money and then put less money into the next deal, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah. And so you're in the 20s of houses you flipped, is that correct?
I think we're at 30 now.
30? Yeah,
30
cool.
now.
Okay. Someone's listening to this podcast, they want to start flipping houses. What's one golden takeaway for them?
Oh, don't believe everything you see online. Cool. My golden thing, like, we work so hard on flipping houses. Like, if you see these things where, like, oh, you sit on your laptop and you organise some contractors and you make 100 grand. I don't know, it might be real, but there's going to be people that have done it. But the way we've made our money in flipping houses, and my wife still works in them now, like we do she does all the work herself now that I run a business, but we're always doing the labour, always doing the things, we're so hands-on. And I've tried the whole sit at your laptop and you make like 20 grand and it's not worth the risk and the stress. So I just wouldn't be afraid to get your hands dirty.
Yeah, it's probably the same to the overall like market's perception of owning an agency as well.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this business, you can make 10 or 20 grand a month from
Sit
your
in your
bedroom,
bedroom.
blah, blah, blah. Look, you can make a whole lot more than that, but it definitely doesn't involve sitting in your bedroom. You don't make any money in your bedroom.
Never,
it's not how it
mate.
works.
No.
Yes, so nice, mate. That's really good. And so was through all this process, and obviously we'll touch on that and then starting development and then Trident Homes after. But through this process, was there a moment where you kind of had one of those like penny drop, I'm on the right path, I'm glad I did this points when you were flipping?
I don't know if I was ever like, well, probably not, because I've gone a different path now.
Yeah.
But I loved flipping. Like, it was such a passion. Once we got this groove going, we've got, like, I was working with my wife now in it, we've got all our contractors. Houses don't talk back to you. That's like, it's just, and we were doing just, like, we would have one, we buying one, renovating one, selling one. So we had a nice system. It just was a flow-on effect. We could work as many hours as we liked, which was normally 7 days a week. And it was just really, really simple and easy, but I was like, this is not a business. This is like, the second I stop working, there's no money here.
Yeah.
So that was the flipping side of it, yeah.
Sure. And so then that drew you towards development?
Yes. It
Yeah.
was like natural evolution. Let's look at property development.
Yeah.
And so we get into that. Had a business partner with that. We start property development and the market tanks.
Yeah.
And any property developer knows that when the market tanks, it sucks. And it was hard because we were learning too. We didn't have resources. We were in a small town. We just were still learning it all. So we got out pretty unscathed.
Yeah.
And like we sold our stock to KO, and which was, they paid us a decent wicket. We didn't make any money, but like losing a little bit is sometimes awesome. Like,
yeah. And you go through this fight to try to turn it profitable, and the risk is actually considerably higher than just accepting a slight loss.
And that was the thing, like through the project, near the end, tail end of it, council would be like, we want you to do this, and they change their mind, you want to do this, and it was like, do we go through, do we fight them, or do we just get out of this thing? Because like, we're so gone here. If KO doesn't settle, it's problem. And I know the government, and they're not going to not settle, but we didn't know. We just want to get it off our books, get it off the balance sheet.
Yeah.
So we were just like, what is the fastest way to get all this off and then take a breath?
Yeah, nice. Cool. And so then that taking a breath led you to starting a building franchise.
Yeah. So actually, you were down in Whanganui
Yeah.
at the time when we had our first open day for this development. We'd
Yeah,
sold
yeah.
them, but we were like showing off people what we could do.
Yeah.
So we did 2 developments. We did one of 2 houses, and then we did one of 4. The one of 4 was to KO. The one of 2 was to friends of mine who'd bought those. And you actually came down, and there was a guy that he was walking around, and he was like, "Oh, can you do this for me?" And we're like, well, "I don't know." He's like, "Oh, I've got a bit different. I want to do like a duplex thing rather than how you've done this." And we're like, "Oh yeah, we could look at it."
Mm-hmm.
So we designed this house, start to go through the process. He goes a little bit quiet, but in the meantime, we started talking to a few other people, and we got a good lead. We got someone who's like, I'm in, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And at this point as well, I took over the developing business. And then my business partner and I, we just decided, he lived overseas, so he's like, I'm just going to do my thing. I was like, cool, I'll take it over.
Yeah.
So then I get into like, meet this guy, we start talking about property investment. If you like property, it's easy to bond with me. So 2 hours later in his kitchen and 4 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
Sweet, we look on. So we're going to do this build for him. We get it all drawn up, get it all priced up. And then just before we pull trigger, I was like, I know nothing about a building franchise, literally nothing. But mate, I just want to do some research. And if it benefits you, I'll pull trigger. If it doesn't, hey, look, we'll keep doing what we're doing. I've got my costings. I know what this costs. So I basically get a list, top 20 builders in New Zealand, cross out the ones in Whanganui, call the rest. I rang 8, 4 didn't answer their phone. 3 didn't answer their phone. I can't remember now. 2 of them were like ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
Then 2 were okay, and then 1 really stood out to me. And one thing that I didn't realise until I started this process was not all building franchises are the same. Like,
Yeah.
they're all so different.
Yeah.
Some want to be a joint venture partnership where they own half your company. Some expect you to pay a lot of money up front. Some, you had to be a licensed builder to do it. I'm not an LBP, I'm not licensed. My business partner is, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I go through and I get them to cost up my house. And then the house that I'm building for the client versus what I could do with a national franchise, it's $100,000 cheaper.
Yeah, right.
So like, mate, we're on.
Yeah. Yes. Sweet.
So, and like, I'm really grateful for him because he was patient with me. And then at the end of the day, he got a much cheaper product.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I say cheaper product, better buying power. The
Yeah,
product's still the same product.
Yeah.
And at the time, the guy who done all the designing, Tim's his name, I got friendly with him. He was a builder, designer, loved business. We just got on like a house on fire. And he's like, I think I might want to come work for you. And same again, I'm like, I don't really have any money again. I've just been through a development cycle. Like, your hourly rate's probably, well, he charged out at $179 an hour, but his skill set's probably worth $300 an hour.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have any money for this again. But I was like, I think I rang you.
Yeah.
It's like, are we on? Like, do I just ring him and say, do you want a piece?
Yeah.
And you were just like, do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we've had this conversation millions of times because we've got buddies that have got business partners, buddies that are doing it on their own. I'm doing it on my own. You'd done it with a business partner and it had been quite unpleasant. And so it was that old, like, you have a girlfriend and they mess you around a little bit and you're like, do I go get another girlfriend or do I just decide that all girlfriends are bad? Yeah. And so we'd spoken and just been like, we both collectively felt like this guy was the right fit. And he was just in here with you and he definitely is. It's played out. It's one of those ones. I mean, you never know what the alternate path would have looked like. But the one good thing about this one is it was one of those ones where you go, fuck, it couldn't have been much better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love business partners because I love talking to people. I love bouncing ideas back and forwards. And when you get the right one, it is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
And then, like, if you're not getting on with your business partner, it doesn't have to end in fallouts and stuff. Like, I've ended relationships with business partners that we still talk now. Like, it's all, hey, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. Do we just want to split? And then you find someone that works. And once you find it, it is so much fun, awesome. It's so easy to scale quickly. There's two of you on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
That is one thing that I do. I am conscious of about the business partner thing is the shared weight of running a business. I mean, the grass is always greener, but I am conscious of that. Is there's a lot of time owning a business that's quite. I would use the expression dark. I don't think I use it in a way where I'm like, don't do it, but I think it's quite dark. I think it's quiet. I think you're on your own and you're trying to figure out things you don't know how to figure out and you don't really have anyone you can talk to about it. I'm lucky because I got heaps of buddies that I can talk to about it, which has probably been my saving grace. But for a lot of people, they don't even have friends that get it because their friends don't have businesses either. And for them, I do feel like that business partnership thing. I mean, 1 + 1 can easily equal 3 or 4 or 5,
Real
not
quick.
2. Yeah.
But it's interesting though, like that dark place is awesome. Like that is like if you really got to go there sometimes to like make some awesome decisions for your business.
Yeah.
And there's stuff like my business partner and I don't like we have different skill sets, right? But I work probably, I don't know, 80 to 100 hours a week. I work most days.
Yeah.
He works 30.
Yeah.
But I'm not like I'm doing all this extra work in anything. I need to do the extra work because he's so smart.
Yeah.
Like there's such a like
you're the horsepower and he's the leverage.
You just whatever you want, mate. You're sweet. Yeah, you're all good. I'll just make sure like, I'll do what I'm good at. And he's also 40. I'm 26, so different age groups. So I'm just going to do my thing and not hold it against him. Like we don't hold anything against each other. And gosh, we make mistakes. There's times like there'll be an estimating thing, like, there was a site, like this site, and I was like, yeah, it's all flat. And he rocks up and gets a laser level out, and she ain't flat. Like, it's like this. And it cost us $5,000 in retaining, and I was like, I'm not ringing the client to bill him. That's my fault.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get angry.
Yeah.
Shit happens, and there's time that he's done stuff with it, like an estimating thing that's cost us money, but
just the game.
It's just the game. So, like, if you just put all that past it and it's working, But I feel like I see so many people clash with their business partners because they get so angry about the little things.
Honestly, I think it's just like a more exaggerated version of a relationship, right? Where like people don't communicate, and then because they don't communicate, they get resentful. And then when you get resentful, all the things like that, he does 30 hours, I do 80, stuff like that, start to come up. And then like I've got this idea that the worst thing you can possibly do with a relationship is like complain about it.
Yeah.
Like you can't go talk to your buddies about how your wife or partner or whatever it is doing something you don't like, because they'll always back you and they'll just encourage this idea that you're right. Whereas really what you should do is go sit down and talk with that person and be like, hey, you're doing this thing and it's really not working for me. And there's a pretty good chance they'll turn around and go, I will work on that.
Yeah.
As a minimum, I'll do my best not to. And like expecting 100% efficiency in business is madness. It's just not how it works. We've wasted more money than we've spent productively. I'm certain of it, you know. But the good thing is the stuff that we've spent productively has brought back way more than what we've wasted. Plus, it's come back with extra friends on top of that. Yeah. So it's just the game.
And it's learning. Like anyone tells you there's this perfect business model, fuck off.
Mm.
That's all I got to say to you. Fuck off.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's that stuff like we mentioned before on the internet, making everything sound really simple that in practicality is not very simple.
No.
Right, so we have the deal, we start the franchise. Obviously, since launching the franchise, you've kind of been on a little bit of a screamer. It's been quite a good run, and you're growing in an environment where other home builders are finding it really challenging to grow. What's involved with doing that? What is it about what you guys are doing that's standing out?
Just don't sleep and stress about it 24/7.
That probably helps.
Yeah. No, we're going real good. We're now equal largest builder. We were number one the month before, but they got some consents in our being GJ Gardner, so we're equal.
Yeah.
Don't know what the stats are going to be this month, but right now as the podcast sits, we're equal. We were no ones.
Yeah.
Our marketing's really good. We use you guys for all our marketing, but we also have a lady that does all our video marketing, which goes well. But follow-up communication with people. People forget. Like, the best thing that ever happened to me was working in hospitality, because I remember if a Caesar salad wasn't right, you would be like, how can I make this better? You would give like all your profit margin away. You'd give them free drinks. You'd give them vouchers. You just hope they wouldn't write a bad review.
Yeah.
And I was always like, why can't you do this service when someone's spending $500,000 with you?
Yeah.
But people spend $500,000 and then don't contact them, send them their first invoice once their slab's poured.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the communication? So we got a good reputation real quickly.
Yeah.
And we cared a lot, but we followed people up. We're just on that grind.
Yeah.
So that's, there's no there's no magic pill, as you know, it's just doing the things.
I mean, look, we it's kind of in our name, but we believe very much in like the simplicity of this stuff too, right? Like it's just
make it easy for people. It's one of our core values as a company. Our core value, make it easy.
And people like the little stuff, right? Like everyone goes, oh, we use this style of frame or whatever, and we're heaps better. But like people are just buying a house. They don't really give a shit about what's involved in the house build, as long as it's of a reasonable quality.
Yeah.
But they do care about the person they're dealing with and how pleasant their experience is along the way. Right. Okay. So we're growing. We're keeping things simple. We're focusing on customers a lot. I'm guessing is a part of this, which is something that we really align about as well. Are you finding having the business partner in Tim's really offsetting like the back of house stuff, or how are you doing? Because one thing for me is that juggling of delivery versus client service versus new sales versus it can be pretty hectic.
So basically I do front of house, and it was hectic until we took on a construction supervisor, because I was doing managing and that. Then we took on a construction supervisor, and then basically I just focus on front of house. Which is awesome. You need someone just doing front of house, because without sales, we don't have a business. Yeah. Tim is a legend. Like, he's got our health and safety plan. He's got all policies. I'm not a policy guy. I'm just not that guy. Yeah. So he's got everything sorted. Does all our ordering down to the T. Does all the estimating. Like, we've got an office manager who does another 30 hours of all back of house. So I don't have to do that. Yeah. But it's so awesome having those people to do it, and you've got to trust them as well. Yeah, sure.
So obviously this is there's no way that we'll get all the details across or anything like that, but this is a journey over circa 6 years from pretty much knowing no one in Whanganui and just arriving there to buy a $185,000 house to running this construction business that you've had all these lessons and stuff like that you've learned along the way, and everything's gotten way better. Is there a key point that you can think of, which is, I'm going to use the word low light, but I don't mean it like that. I mean, like, what's the most challenging thing you've faced? And then also after that, what's the point where you've gone, I'm really into this?
The most challenging thing you face is the most challenging thing you face at the time.
Yeah.
I would hands down. We've got stuff ups going on left, right, and centre. We've got councils wanting to put stop works on us for stuff that's like not even our fault, but like that's challenging now. But I don't know, that time you swipe the credit card and got no money, is that more challenging? Probably.
I think it just scales with you.
It just scales with you. It does.
Yeah. It's and that feeling doesn't really change no matter where you get to and what you do. That like, oh,
it almost should be like you should look at challenges on a percentage basis. It would have been good to been like, if you're starting a business, do this. Every time you come up like with an invoice owed or something's going to break you, write the number down, and then it'd be good to go like your percentage of net worth or something.
Yeah.
Because what you'll find is like it'll just
probably align.
Yeah, it'll just all align.
Yeah.
It's always a 20% fuck up.
What
we'll find.
Yeah, this is a 10 grand fuck up and I'm worth 50.
Yeah.
It's a 10%. Yeah. And just a pain out of 10 level beside it, and you could just look back on it over time. I look, once again, like I don't think there was a significant difference between me not knowing how to pay the $165 rent on Monday to me having to navigate a $35,000 invoice that was 60, 90 days overdue to, I've had to fire staff. I've had to...
Firing staff is hard. And it is not comfortable. Every time you got to let someone go, it is hard.
Yeah. And we do our best to avoid it at all costs, obviously, but it's just like, if you have high enough standards eventually and you hire enough people, eventually it will happen. It's like a rule of probability, right?
Yeah. And contractors, contractors are the same. Like, it's still people. It's hard to bring someone and go, you've fucked up, you owe me this, or... Yeah.
And if you I remember periods of time where we were working with, say, a small business, we might have been spending $5,000 a month with them or something like that. And that $5,000 is like at least 25% of their total turnover. It could be half. It could be more some months, right? And so when you go, hey, we've had to make a business decision just because, we're spending all this money on this thing. Pull this, because for that $5,000 a month I'm spending, I could spend $7,000 and I could have a full-time person in-house doing this, and all I need to do is buy the equipment and I'm pretty much away. And you just go like, you're not doing a bad job. If anything, your good job's got you fired because it's shown me the possibility with this, but I can't make money if we've got...
But it's their job to show you that they need you to keep the value.
Yeah.
So actually the responsibility falls on the contractor. Yeah. And it's always a tough one, especially in that low market where you're talking about hiring someone versus outsourcing.
Yeah.
And then it can go the other way. You can hire someone and be like, I wish I just kept the contractor.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what people are contracting against, right?
How many times have you guys been gone out, done a really good job, and then someone goes, I can just employ a marketing person for that. Then they bring someone in, and then they're like,
usually they wind up coming back.
Yeah.
But it's like first off, everyone's entitled to go down that process, and
they should do it.
I would argue it's actually a good thing. And I also we aren't very, and I mean, we were laughing about some stuff before this, but we aren't very hostile towards other presence in the marketing space. Like if someone wants to get someone in-house that can shoot some or do their posts on their Facebook page and they want us to deduct that from what all good. Yeah. That's mint. And do you want us to help them?
Yeah,
you want us to talk to them, and how can we work with them? And you want to bring another agency in to do the design stuff so we can focus on ads? You want to do all good.
However you want to do this.
Yeah, it's your business.
What's
you get
best
to make
for you?
these decisions. Yep. And if you take a service off us and then you turn around in 3 months and you want to give it back, all good. If someone comes in and undercuts us and will do something considerably cheaper and you want to give it a go for 3 months and then you want to come back, all good. I think that people are real, they act with a scarcity mindset, right? The way they view things is that the opportunity that's in front of them is the last opportunity they will have for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
And that's really terrifying.
We lost a bill to someone and I text them and the client, I was like, hey, congratulations on build.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, it's great for the market. You're employing people. You're fantastic. We can't do everything right. I agree with that mindset that people just have, and like, just don't be a dick to people. Like if someone goes, hey, I'm leaving, congratulations. Like if any of our staff left and said we're going on, hey, dinner's on me, let's go. Like, and if you want to come back, good, but don't burn bridges. Like, so many people burn bridges.
Yeah. I mean, I would have had 2 or 3, I think it's 2, maybe a third kind of, staff leave and start agencies. All good. And like I left an agency and started Digital Simple, and my boss said, go for it. I don't know if that was in the same way that I think go for it, but he still said go for it. So the outcome's the same, right? So it's
probably
just
didn't realise you'd build it into a monster and have like 26.
I think it was more of like you'll fuck this up. Go for it.
Yeah.
But either way, no, I don't know. I it was a long time ago. I can't remember. But he said go for it, regardless. And I always hung on to that. I was like, this is the way that you should treat people. It's that there's enough customers out there. There's enough opportunity out there for all of us to get something, not just one of us.
And once you get big enough, you start doing business together. That's like, and then it's like, this New Zealand tall poppy syndrome is a funny one that a lot of people haven't. And also people aren't focusing on their business. They're missing if you're focusing on someone else's business, you're not focusing on sales.
Yeah, well, that's why, and I mean, you mentioned that agency and what they, that story from before. And, that's the thing that stands out to me the most about this type of conversation is I don't know what anyone else is doing. So, someone will say something about us having a bad quality of work or this or that. And, every now and again, one of their customers will come in through one of our funnels and they'll be like, what do you think of our staff? And we'll be like, we would do this and this and this differently. We won't be like, they suck. We'll be like, we would do this and this and this differently, and here's why we would do it, and here's the stats that back up our thinking, and here's our clients' experiences with this type of strategy. Do you want some pricing? That's pretty much how the conversation goes.
And there's been times where you just go, hey, they're the right fit for you. If you like the people we get all the time, people negotiate, trying to go someone else can build for this and do this. Hey, they're probably the right fit.
Yeah.
This is how we do it. We need to charge also this to be able to provide your service.
Yeah.
But if we're not for you, hey, good luck. Go for it.
Yeah.
Enjoy I hope it's a good experience for you. I really do.
And that is, once again, it's just not viewing it opportunity is finite, viewing it like it's infinite, and it will just continue arriving. And I think that when you've got a forward trajectory and when stuff is going good, you can just smell it on people when they're in those interactions. We're like, hey, we want to sign you as a client, but we want to sign you as a client for you. It's not so much about us, because it's not that we don't need it, because we need new clients, but we don't need this specific deal because we got 2 leads a day for the last 30 days, plus 10 over that time come through my personal branding Instagram, plus 6 random ones come through off referrals. And we got a whole bunch of proposals out there, and some of the stuff's going to fall through or not fall through no matter what we do from this point on. So it's just all good. And I think that's the same thing when people were like, this is what they're charging. I'm like, have a look at what your actual budget is here. Because we don't want to, if we're more expensive than what you're currently using, we don't actually want to put financial pressure on you through this process, because everyone loses.
If you're $5,000 a month and they're $3,000 or $2,500 a month, but if you can't afford us, hey, maybe you need to do some stuff with them, get through, and then can we help you out later? But I can't drop my price because I've got my overheads to run, I've got business to run, and I've got to be able to provide you with the best service.
Yeah. I think it's just overall, it's just, we just try to do the right thing by people, right? There's a lot to be said for that. It's just doing your best. And that's probably the one thing when we get criticised, which appears to be just happening more and more. I can't really have a week go by without an agency saying something about us. But as that continues to happen, I just keep thinking, how do I make a product so good that no one could criticize it? How do I create a service offering that's so strong that it would be impossible?
Your clients know.
Yeah, they do. But I want it to be so good that even you would have to lie. That's what I want. I want you to have to. I want it to be that strong that the only possible path to being able to saying anything negative about us is that you would have to lie. And I don't want that because it means that people can't criticize us. I want that because it means the outcomes for our clients are so good it's unimaginable.
And do you know the best part is that's actually unattainable. You can't do it, but that's. People like us are always looking. We want to be the very best.
Yeah.
We want to be professional.
Yeah.
Tim and I talk about, is this world class? We will we want to be world class. What we're doing now, world class. What does world class mean? Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
But I know it means flying business class and Qatar Airways. Yeah. That's getting close to world class. So is our business making someone feel like that?
Yeah.
That's what we're always aiming for.
Yeah.
Always trying to be the best. And you can't hit it.
And that's the beauty of it, is it's like, it's about the journey there, not the actual result. And if you just come in and every day you just challenge yourself to be better, the gain over time is unimaginable. Right?
Yeah.
Like it just improves and improves and improves. Right. So we touched on if someone was like listening to this and what piece of advice you'd give them if they want to start flipping property. I don't know if you have any development advice, but if you're a builder and you want to kind of level things up and you want to start doing this in a little bit more of a business to consumer way, and maybe you're just like contracting or something like that, what are some standout things you think they should consider before mixing it up?
Builders, like just in general terms, seem to have this chip on their shoulder. Mm-hmm. And I think the fastest way to take your business to the next level is remove it and just remember clients are spending a lot of money with you. Even a $10,000 deck, it's still a $10,000 deck. Like it's still the building industry is an expensive industry, and people just forget. They just think, I'm just here to do my job and leave. They forget about the customer service side of it. I think more people in the industry need to focus on customer service.
Yeah.
Like our guarantee is we just give people a once a week update with photos.
Yeah.
Do you know how well that goes? And like we go around to sites, construction supervisor already there, take some photos, chuck an email, hey, this is what's happened this week. They don't feel like they're forgotten about. Yeah. And we do that from when people give us their first dollar. Yeah. So you sign a contract, you get a deposit, hey, you duly introduce yourself next week. Hey, it's in council, haven't heard anything. I've had a resource consent in council for 3 or 4 months. Every Thursday they get an email. Hey, just so you know, we haven't heard anything, but look, have a great weekend. Yeah. Do you know how much people appreciate that?
Yeah.
When you're spending that sort of money, wouldn't you want to know what's going on? And we don't make ours generic. Ours is like actually we put it. It's actually a written email. Yeah. And always they can call and we always answer. But what we've found is by doing the once a week communication, our phones don't ring because people just know that they'll get the update on Thursday, so they don't have to harass you and ring you, and it makes our time easier to manage because we just Wednesdays get all the information, Thursday send it out, done. See you next week. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, sure. We try to run a similar rhythm here. We call them whip emails, and our objective is to give every client an overview of where the campaign is at and what we're doing about it. So it could be your campaign's screaming, we've just tried this new audience out to see if we can beat your current results, but they're killing it. It could be everything is broken and we're rebuilding this thing from scratch. But just knowing it's being looked at, I think, is really appreciated by people.
And that's the thing, like things go wrong, everyone gets that. Like, hey, look, this is fucked, but we're onto it. This is our game plan to fix it. This is what we have planned to fix it by. Sweet. So the client doesn't have to worry. Like they're just like, oh, okay. Well, let's enjoy the journey. Like, and do you know the funny thing is people like seeing how you fix problems. Yeah. They love like, oh, so what's he going to do here, here, and here? Like, that's what I think people miss. They just try hide it and just move on. Yeah. Just tell people.
Yeah, cool. I got a really interesting question for you, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. But you guys obviously are, you're exceptional from an organic perspective on social media. We like to think you do a good job of lead gen too, but your regularity of posting and the quality of the content you put up and all that sort of thing is really high. What's that meant for your business?
Huge. Like, for anyone who hasn't seen it, just go onto our Trident Homes Whanganui page and just like quickly scroll, you'll see. So every Monday to Friday we post a video and we've got our team talking and it's all different content, short form content, 6 seconds, easy. What it's meant, like, gosh, everybody knows us. Like, and we're a company that started a year ago, and I'm not from Whanganui, like, it's a country town. Everybody knows us. Like, if you haven't heard of Trident Homes, you don't have social media. Yeah, right. And so it has been, like, unbelievable, but people don't realise it's hard because you've got to take 3 hours out of your day to take the content, do the thing. But we don't just do, like, generic, always in the office. We go to sites, we go to locations because we understand the value of the compounding interest of new content. Yeah, I actually would like to go to like every day, twice a day. Yeah, like I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, why am I posting once a day? Because you swipe next and you forget about us. We should be going more. Yeah, but
it's been one of the things that's challenged my original thoughts around marketing the most over my entire career has been just going, I wonder what would happen if we did this personal brand thing for clients, and then being like, we should probably find out by doing it for me, and then being like, well, I don't really like doing this stuff, but whatever, and then just putting a video on the internet every day for a year. And that's pretty, and I think I'm 370 videos on my Instagram now or something like that, and we just now get leads. Yeah. Like, and like not leads like you have a new form submission, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, I'm having this problem with my agency. Can you have a look at my stuff and let me know what I should be doing better? Or I have this problem with my creatives. Can you meet with us and talk about how we could offload
Do you know
our
the
creatives?
craziest thing is people feel like they know you. Do
Yeah.
you know how many people like they message you and they're like, hey Matt, da 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 da, and
Yeah.
you're like, hey bro, like,
Yeah,
but the way they
yeah.
communicate, or they'll walk you in the street and go, you're like, but then the thing in your mind, you're like, do I know you? Do I not
Yeah.
know? But that is awesome. Like that's
Yeah.
when you know you're really starting to make a market.
It becomes really funny when you start like, and I'm not a big going outy type person anymore, but it becomes really interesting when you start having people come up to you when you say like out at a pub or something like that, and they're like, mate, I follow your thing. Or like I was walking into the casino, and this was months ago. I haven't been since before Arch was born, but someone's like, James, and I'm like, probably not the time. Thanks for coming up to me. Probably not the
Really
time.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. I think it definitely has cut through in a younger audience, right? Which everyone understands about social media.
And I think that's the other side too, though. Like it is hard. Like having everybody know you
yeah,
means that there's a light on you all the time, and that takes a little bit to get used to. And it's not from like a celebrity point, but it's from a business point.
Yeah.
Like every business owner knows you. Everyone's watching what you do. Everyone's waiting for you to make a mistake.
yeah. And the more attention you draw to yourself, the more your competition have to say about you. The more they love if they can get one over you or whatever. Whereas you're just out trying to transact and just do healthy business. They're after you, and I think that brings a sense of like accountability that's quite refreshing to it. Is it's like we're not just doing this for us anymore. I'm doing this to protect the idea of what I stand for as well. It's pretty cool.
And that's cool from going from like this guy that flipped one house at 20 to like now you have this brand, you have this thing. It's a different beast. Mm-hmm. But I look forward to the next 10 years. Like what can we build these into? That's the like, once you see momentum, it's a drug. Like it is so addicting. All you want to do is like, you want to skip that, but you got to enjoy the journey. Yeah. And Tim's the one that reminds me of that. I go like, we're not big enough yet. We're not selling enough houses. Like I can get in that trap of like, how can we do more, flat out. And he's like, can pull me back and go, just take a moment. Just like, and when I say moment, I don't mean like sit there for a week. It's like, just take 30 seconds to go, hey, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like, we just had our head office, Trident Homes conference. And last year we hadn't even sold a house. This year we're equal largest builder in Whanganui. Yeah. So like, you look back and you're like, yeah, that's pretty good 12 months.
And it seems like it takes ages and moves really slow at the time. And you look back and you go, that wasn't that slow.
Yeah. And we're sitting here now, like, you guys are only 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
We've been in business for 6 years, but Trident Homes 1 year. And it feels like forever, like, what's the next 20 years look like? Like, I was talking to guys and they've been building for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I'm like, how are you guys not building more? Like,
yeah. And that is one thing that's interesting is I'm 27, you're 26. We do have that time thing that's on our side. And I think that we're both, especially because we hang around with such successful people, both probably guilty at times of forgetting that.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to think about.
And our friends are all like hyper successful. Like, and that's been hard for you and I, always going through like, they can spend money like it's water, and like we're always trying to keep up, but that's what's pushed us, always pushed us to go the next level. There's no fear of like, I don't know what to do here because my buddy's already doing it. Yeah. And I think you and I have this weird competition thing that always goes on in the background that like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and it's like, fuck, he's doing this and I'm doing this, and which is awesome.
It's healthy though, eh? It's we both like, we want to win just as much as we want to see the other person win, and I think that's, maybe we want to win slightly more, but there's no losses.
I want to destroy you. No one loses, but we've always had that. And you need to find people like that. I can't stress that enough. Like maybe the best thing for me moving to New Zealand was knowing no one, because I got into groups that were doing things. I don't have a school history here. My old school friends, I don't even know what they're doing. I don't really follow them. They're not going to watch this. Like I completely got out of that. And I think that's probably for the best.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Because that would have been something that would have been pretty challenging at the time.
Well, when I left school and went and worked for my old man, I like stopped talking to them and become friends with adults. I was 15 when I left school and went and worked in bars and stuff. And these are country pubs, you know, these aren't like nightclubs. This is like blokes sitting at the front bar drinking a butcher of port or like a big pint or something. And I had to learn how to communicate with adults, which was really handy. Yeah. And you just like, and then I didn't really find any friends there because these are just drunks drinking at a bar. So then when I moved to New Zealand, I looked for like friends and people doing things, and then I think that was awesome.
Yeah, nice. The I think about that a lot too. I was a bit of a recluse at school. Like I didn't go much. Not that I wasn't, but I just didn't go much, and I didn't really get along with people. And I sort of looked at like my school was very rugby orientated, and I sort of looked at all that a little bit like, this is a bit dumb. Like and not that I was doing anything better, but I just didn't like that, and then I didn't have the self-awareness to be like, yeah, but just like sitting at the park smoking darts isn't actually a whole lot cooler, like it's, and like.
Were you a C student?
A what?
Like a C student, D student, like
We
grades
didn't have,
wise?
Nah, so we had, this is actually a good story. So we had excellence merit achieved instead of, and so I was in primary school, I went to a really good primary school. I was quite intelligent towards the end of primary school. I then went to another high school, not the one that I spent the majority of my high school time at. And it was really obvious there was a gap between like the primary school capability and the high school capability. So I essentially knew everything for the first 2 years of high school before I got there. So I did nothing.
Awesome.
Nothing. And passed every test with flying colours. And it used to drive my teachers up the wall. Problem was I developed a whole bunch of terrible habits through those 2 years.
Because you got 2 years off.
Yeah. And so then I moved schools to a school that was actually operating at quite a high caliber, and the gap from where I should have been and where I was at was quite dramatic. And at that point, I essentially gave up. And so then I rolled into year 11, which is sort of your third last year of school, 12, 13. And in year 11, I essentially just scraped through, and then had this random burst of motivation towards the end of the year where I was like, I'm going to get merit this year. And so you might have needed like 45 merit credits or something. I think I had like 18 going into final exams. And I was on track to fail maths. And my maths teacher had actually pulled me aside and said, you're going to fail. You're going to be back here next year.
I love those stories.
And so he basically sparked this whole thing. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this guy.
Game on.
Yeah.
Game on.
Not only am I going to pass this year, I'm going to pass maths, and not only am I going to pass both, I'm going to pass them both with merit. And so I just went into like this study hole, right? And we're talking like, I get obsessed with shit.
Yeah,
so
I know you do.
I just like school study for probably like 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I essentially taught myself an entire year's worth of maths because I didn't listen in one class. All the stuff I needed to know on YouTube at night.
Yeah.
Went back in, passed level 1 maths with merit. I got merit in every exam, which was 12 credits, which is what you needed for the thing. And we wound up passing the whole year with merit in level 1. I achieved the second year, did not finish in the third year. So, but I was going to school less and less and less as that time went on, and I was interested with just other shit. My final year, I was pretty much just doing gateway and working at a sports supplement store and planning on becoming a personal trainer. So I was just chilling.
Yeah, funny how it all changes.
Yeah. Talk to me then. I've got a few kind of questions that I keep pretty similar across most of the guests that come on here, or that I will. There's not been a heap of guests just yet, but that I will keep similar across all of them. What's one piece of advice that you would give your younger self? And obviously I'm conscious of you are young, but say 20-year-old Matt that's just moved across the ditch to come and flip property. What's the one thing that you would tell him?
That one.
I don't know. Because the hardest part with that question is I wouldn't change any of it.
Yep.
And I wouldn't give myself any advice because what if it led down a different path that I didn't want to be down?
Yeah.
The question being, what would I give a young 20-year-old?
Yeah.
Would be work fucking hard.
Yeah, right.
But I was already doing that, so I wouldn't have given myself any different advice because I can't be happy where I am. But if a young 20-year-old come up to me and said, what would I do? I'd go do the work. Go work 8 days a week. That sort of shit. That's what I would say.
And so, like, because that's something obviously that we bond over as well, is we don't really necessarily believe in like base capability. We believe in effort, I'd say, is like what causes the reward system. That is something that I think is the standout and probably the synergy is different industries, different people, similar age, both punch, we haven't clocked it, but both punching above our weight. I know that I personally put the majority of my, what I've done down to resilience, i.e. how hard I can get kicked in the head.
It fucks me off how smart, these smart people are, and they don't put it, like if they put in the hours we put in, you wouldn't know what to do with the money. I just have to work so hard because I'm not clever.
And I think like it's really just that, is it's like if I think about the three things that impact a business's growth, intelligence doesn't even sit in that list. Like it's resilience, it's risk adversity, and it's
then you get to hire that one smart person, and it's like, oh, game changer.
Oh, most of my staff are considerably more intelligent than I am, and I believe in I don't believe in doing that to substitute yourself out. I think you should be good at every area of your business.
If someone left, you can actually do it.
Yeah.
But they can just do it a lot better.
Yeah, and they don't have to worry about all the stuff you have to worry about, which means they can operate. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to like organize a spreadsheet where you've got like that in your head and all the spreadsheets.
The equal sign just goes like, what does it say?
Like blurry.
Hashtag something. You're like, come on, man.
Yeah, and like you're stressing about unpaid invoices or this bill or whatever it is. It's pretty hard to do the work in those times, but sometimes also you need to do things that are a little bit outside the box, like spend half a day over the course of a week setting up a podcast and order 30 acoustic panels to stick to the wall and do stuff that it's not appropriate to give your staff, and that's just where the owner fits in.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. What's next for you?
Largest builder in the lower North Island. That's the goal. 300 houses a year.
Yeah.
Grow the franchise throughout. So Trident Homes isn't very dominant in the North Island. There's only one other franchise, Tauranga.
Yeah.
Big in the South Island. So there is a lot of, I need to ask head office, but there's room for us to grow, which has always been our plan. And we want to be the largest builder in the lower North Island. Yeah, cool. And we want to be building about 300 houses a year. So that's, whether that means we are bigger than that, I don't know, but that's sort of the target.
It's a lot of houses.
It's a lot of houses.
Love it.
Sure, we'll fuck it up.
No, well, you'll get there. It's just you will also fuck it up. Yeah. Both are true. How can listeners connect with you, learn more about you, Trident Homes, those sorts of things?
They should just follow our Trident Homes Whanganui Facebook or Instagram page. I think like you will get to know us. You'll get to know we're quite funny. Like we're quite organic. We don't hide things the way I talk here, the way we talk there. And more people should be like that. Like you should just copy what we're doing. Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I agree. I mean, we've shot a lot of, and obviously the production value of this is pretty high, but we're treating the podcast a little bit differently. But we've shot a lot of content for me personally over the years, and it's really hard to beat an iPhone video with a little Bluetooth lapel mic.
iPhone video with a little mic is like, because it makes it real. It seems to be like the super professional stuff has kind of faded away a bit. Like it works if you're a Grant Cardone. But if you're just Matt Perks in Whanganui, you don't have to be. You're just showing the real side of you. Keep it easy. Like $300 to buy a microphone, and you pull out your iPhone.
Funnily enough, the JBL one's $169. They're just always sold out. That's the one that we use. And we now will, like, if a client wants to do content, we'll just buy them one and just send it to them. Just be like, just use this.
Yeah, our marketing guy who takes our videos, I was like, you can just keep it and use it for the other ones because, like, it's awesome. And if you break it, we'll just buy another one.
Yeah, cool. Hey, first ever podcast. Thank you. It was really good.
It was good.
It was really good. Thank you very much. I think that there's a heap of stuff that people can take away from it, which is cool. I think that you went really well. Like you said, it's not too complicated.
It's nice to show that we're young. Like I feel like there's so many podcasts, and I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Actually, I don't listen to them at all. But they're all like these people that are up here, like super successful, killing it. They've got their own stuff going on, but it's nice to. We're young. We're still not like our businesses aren't massive. They're still achievable for the average person. They can look at ours and go, I could do that.
Yeah, that is 5 steps ahead, not 1,000.
Yeah, and you look at that and you're like, I can't do that. Like, you and I look at it and go, we could get there, but most people can't.
And look, I think that's probably the biggest overall message that I want to get across with this podcast is like, no matter how big the person is, it's like everything they do is possible. Like, there's nothing that's impossible about this stuff.
Yeah, or even if they inherit it, they've still done well, or they're doing things like...
Yeah, cool, man. Well, hey, thank you heaps. That was really enjoyable. And we'll look forward to regrouping later on and maybe doing a one in a year or something like that and see how you're tracking with this largest builder in the Lower North Island.
I thought you meant a Bessie dinner, and I was like,
oh, we'll definitely do a Bessie dinner. I think that's us tonight. See you later. Cool.
Done.
Whoa.